All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for August. We are going to just wait a few more minutes to give everyone a chance to log in. And so we'll see you back here in just a couple minutes. So hang tight and we'll get started. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We will go ahead and get started. And I just want to first of all say thank you for coming along tonight. And no matter what it was that you were doing, that you took some time to log in and be a part of our webinar for Military Spouse Advocacy Network for August. The title this month is New Military Spouse, Embrace the Beginning. My name is Whitney Armstrong, and I will be hosting for you today. I'm the MSAN New Military Spouse Program Director. And, along with a welcome, I would like to introduce someone to you, and that is Vernice Castillo. And she is our founder and president of Military Spouse Advocacy Network. Just to kind of say a quick hello and introduce herself to you. So welcome, Vernice.
Thank you so much, Whitney. Welcome, everyone. Like Whitney said, thank you so much for being part of this webinar. We really hope that we get to share great information with you. This is just an introduction and just to share with you about the amazing things that we are planning and doing with this program. This program was developed with the purpose to help all the brand new spouses to have the support that they need from day one through the time that they PCS for the first time. So this is just the beginning, and Whitney's going to be sharing some awesome news and some great things that are coming up. And we're here to support anyone, and especially all the brand new spouses. So thank you so much, and we look forward to hear any of the questions or feedback that you want to share with us. Thank you, and thank you, Whitney.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking your evening to spend with us, Vernice, and for giving that awesome, warm welcome. I'd like to go ahead and kind of talk to you guys a little bit about the new Military Spouse Support Program and who the team is that gets this going. And so that's the director, the manager, the advocate, and blogger, and then, of course, all of our mentors, because without these people, we wouldn't have a program. And so just to kind of introduce you to a couple of these people and tell you about who they are, this is Andrea, and she's our new Military Spouse Support Program manager. And as a manager, she is the person who, I'm not kidding you, does it all. And so she links mentors and spouses, she answers questions, she finds resources, she tracks and manages volunteer hours and trainings. Just an amazing person who is like the rest of us, a volunteer to help this program run. And so that is our new Military Spouse Support Program manager. The next one is Carly, and Carly is our new Military Spouse Support Program advocate and blogger. So I don't know if you've been on our social media lately, but on Thursdays we have a new Military Spouse Thursday. And Carly has been awesome to post different blogs and information, and she is also fairly new as a military spouse. And so she can kind of pull from her own experiences of what's happening right now and blog about them. She loves to interview people, find out resources, some really cool things to share. And so, look on our website and look on that Facebook page and other social media for that information from our advocate and blogger, Carly. Again, my name is Whitney Armstrong, and I am the new Military Spouse Support Program Director. Just kind of a little bit of background information about me. I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in interdisciplinary studies. My emphasis was in English, and actually it was a teaching emphasis in secondary education. And so just after college, I married a man in the Air Force, and we moved right after that 4 times in 2 years, which is a little bit crazy and kind of uncharacteristic of what you would hear that happens. But of course, we had a unique situation come up that I'll tell you a little bit more about later. So I did in those 2 years, in those 4 times in 2 years, I got to teach in Minot, North Dakota, and Sumter, South Carolina. So I taught high school in North Dakota, middle school in Sumter, South Carolina, and it was just an amazing experience to be able to do that in both of those states. And once we got here in South Carolina, I became a key spouse in 2015, and I started a program for a brand new squadron. And that really kind of opened the doors for me and opened my eyes, and I really just fell in love with volunteering. And I started briefing for Right Start orientations, welcoming new airmen to the base, and sharing information about the Key Spouse program. I became an MC for the HeartLink program on our base and sharing information with new spouses to Shaw Air Force Base, giving them resources, introducing them to people, and kind of making those links. And got involved with local nonprofit organizations and our base spouses club as well. So this year I was actually just honored to be named the 2017 Armed Forces Insurance and Military Spouse Magazine's Military Spouse of the Year for our installation Shaw Air Force Base here in South Carolina. And that's actually where I met finally a lot of the MCN team and became the director for the new Military Spouse Support Program. So I am a military spouse. We've got awesome, everyone has a unique story. And just to kind of follow up on what I said I would share with you about marrying that man in the Air Force and moving so many times in a short amount of time. What happened was I was student teaching in Wyoming because he was in training and he was going to be in Wyoming. That was, the orders. That was what was going to happen. And so in my mind, as we were still engaged, not married yet, I moved to Wyoming. I was ready. I was there, and we're waiting for him to come. And about the second day of student teaching, he's still in training, and he gives me a call and lets me know that that has changed now, and we're going to be in Minot, North Dakota. So all of a sudden, I'm stuck in Wyoming by myself for this semester to complete my student teaching because some strings had to be pulled for me to be there. And he ended up finishing training and then moving to Minot, North Dakota by himself. And then, of course, I finished school and we were able to get married, and then I could move to North Dakota with him. So lesson number 1 for me as a military spouse, and opening my eyes to this world is things can change and things can change quickly, whether you have orders or not. that can happen. And so that was kind of an interesting experience, first experience for me as a new military spouse. Unique, but one nonetheless. So just to kind of talk about our agenda today, like Vernice said, this is kind of an introduction and an overview to what we do with the new military spouse support program. So we're going to talk about the power of the puzzle and how we fit into that within MSAN and how our new military spouse support program can help you along your journey as a military spouse, whether you have been a military spouse for a year or 25 years. There are things that MSAN can help you with and provide resources to you, because that's what we're all about, right? And that's that mission to educate and inspire and empower one another. And so we're going to talk about enrolling or becoming a mentor. We're going to talk a lot about outlook and attitude. And then, of course, the top 10 things a military spouse should do or know. And this is advice from fellow military spouses that I think is very inspiring, uplifting, and a little bit humorous as well. And then, of course, we will end with some questions and a conclusion. I do want to offer, though, if you have any questions at all during this presentation, during the webinar, you're welcome to go ahead and type them in to that left-hand side and, share anything that you have questions about, and we would love to answer those throughout the presentation. So make sure that you do that, or you're welcome to wait until the end, or if you think of something after the presentation, or if you're catching the replay, feel free to send an email to the contact information at the end of the webinar. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started in talking about the power of the puzzle. So when you're a new military spouse and you hear about all this information that you're supposed to know, or these acronyms, and you hear about all these things, it can seem very overwhelming. And it can seem like a large puzzle has just been dumped out in front of you. Some of them are right side up, some of them are upside down, things are mixed matched, and it's 40,000 pieces to a jigsaw puzzle. And it just seems like too much because you don't know where to start. And so where MSAN fits into that is it's our goal to help you pick out those beginning pieces. And within this new military spouse support program, we're helping you kind of line up those first foundational pieces along the edges to help you fill in that puzzle. Without a start, it's going to be really hard to get it going. And so the new military spouse support program should help you get that started so that you can fill in some of those puzzle pieces afterwards. Every person's puzzle is going to look a little bit different depending on the branch of military that you're in. It's going to look a little bit different based on your outlook. It's going to look a little bit different based on how long you guys are in the military. And so getting that started is where we fall into place, and then helping you along the way, figuring out what puzzle pieces to put next. So like I said, it can be kind of an information overload. So here are just a couple things that can happen as a new military spouse that you hear about and you're not quite sure where to start. So of course, social security number, taxes, employment, paychecks, insurance, all of the acronyms. It's like you're learning an entirely different language and you're not quite sure where to start. So with our new military spouse support program, basically it's designed for this peer-to-peer mentorship and support for all new military spouses from the very beginning. So as soon as you become a new military spouse, you get linked up with that other mentor, the mentor who has become I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, a seasoned spouse who has a lot of experience and wisdom and advice to give you, and a lot of resources and training from MSAN to share that with you. If you take a look at the graphic on the screen now, we have on the left-hand side, the new military spouse support program. This is kind of a visual for you and a breakdown. And so we've got our new military spouse who is being introduced by our manager, Andrea, to an MSAN mentor. So we introduce those people together, and then they decide what the best way is to communicate. So any questions that new military spouse has, they can ask that mentor, whether it be about family, benefits, deployment, isolation, friends, anything like that. That mentor can help provide them with resources and education. Then, once they know what installation they're headed to for their first PCS or permanent change of station, that mentor can link them to that new installation. So, for example, at Air Force bases, we have what's called the Airman and Family Readiness Center. And at this Airman and Family Readiness Center, there are different pieces that we can link that new military spouse to. So there are people there to help with finances, people there to help with insurance questions, people there to help with exceptional family member program questions. There are people who are called key spouses who are also mentors once you're at that installation to give you information. And so our job would be to connect you to all of those resources so that you feel comfortable at your new installation. That once you arrive, you have someone there. In a way, it's a sponsor, right, to guide you to the right resources. Now, if you're not a new military spouse and you're listening to this webinar, I would like to highly, highly recommend and encourage that you become a mentor. You have something to offer. No matter how long you've been a military spouse, you have a lot of advice and a lot of personal experience and knowledge to give. And so we hope that you would love to become the mentor that maybe you wish that you had. Everyone's experience is a little bit different. I wish that I had some sort of mentor to let me know before starting student teaching in Wyoming that things could change and maybe just wait to finish school and wait until my spouse is at that installation before moving all of my things to join him. And so, we really need those mentors, because without the mentors, we do not have a program. So if you are someone who's listening who is dedicated, who would like to volunteer and be trained with MSAN to become a mentor, we absolutely wish that you would join us. The way that you become enrolled as a mentor or a new military spouse is by following these steps. So with step 1, you would just visit milspouseadvocacynetwork.org. That's our website. Step 2, you click on our programs and select New Military Spouse Program. Step 3, you read all the information. Read about it. Find out how this works if you want to be a part of it. And then, of course, step 4, click on Join the New Military Spouse Group or Become a Mentor. This is how it looks when you're on any sort of mobile device. And so these are 3 pages kind of pieced together. And in that bottom right-hand corner, it says Become a Mentor or Join the New Military Spouse Group. Once you read over the information and you click on one of those buttons, it will ask you for some more information about your name, some contact information on how we can contact you, the best way to do so, and then of course what your current installation is and things like that. And so filling out that information will give us a little bit more of an idea of how we can get you trained up as a mentor to guide a new military spouse, or where you would fit in as a new military spouse, linking you to a current mentor that we have ready. And so that is exactly what you would do here. So as much as I'd love to say that MSAN is going to give you all those puzzle pieces and make the puzzle for you and it's going to be a beautiful picture, unfortunately we can't, because you have to complete the puzzle. Like I said, everyone's puzzle is going to look a little bit different. And your puzzle will look a little different based on your outlook. So I have a couple job descriptions here that I'd like to read over with you. And again, this is a little wordy, but I'm going to read it from start to finish. And just imagine you're hearing this as a real job description. In need of a full-time employee. Long hours required, including overtime without compensation. Must leave your friends and family for extended periods of time to work in an isolating and chaotic environment. Must be flexible and available to relocate anytime with as little notice as possible. Candidate should do the work of 5 people completely alone. Note, working alone is prohibited and your sponsor must accompany you at all times. This job may strain your relationships, marriage, and mental health. Must be willing to wait on hold for hours at a time to never get answers to your questions. Must be able to bite tongue repeatedly. Must answer to spouse or dependent instead of your name. Must be willing to learn an entirely new language. Candidate will have difficulty finding employment after accepting this position. Now, it's humorous because it's an exaggeration. However, if you tend to have a negative outlook on the military journey, that's what the job description will look like. And that's what your life will look like. And so you can choose to have job description number 1 or job description number 2. In need of an employee who seeks adventure and wanderlust. Must be able to laugh and have a lot of fun. Seeking a good communicator with the ability to adapt to social situations. World travel is encouraged with most expenses paid for. Must be willing to embrace new friendships and large support system. Employer will assist with healthcare expenses, travel, home and sustenance, employment priority, and family needs. Safe housing areas are provided with great schools nearby. Must be willing to experience unique food, incredible people, paid vacation time, and happy reunions and homecomings. Tax-free items are also provided, alongside multiple employee discounts and resources not available to the general public. Open to all applicants, no educational requirements or experience necessary. Once in a lifetime opportunity. Now, I don't know about you, but this job description sounds a lot better than the first one. So it all depends kind of on your outlook. Now, both of these are exaggerations or hyperboles, if you will. And your life as a military spouse is not always going to be like job description number 1 or like job description number 2. There's going to kind of be many days where you're in the middle. So I have a quote up here at the top by Judy Davis, and she's a fellow military spouse. And she said that there isn't a right way to live the military life. Be true to yourself and find ways to seek the good. It's always there. Sometimes it's just harder to find. And I think that is beautiful words and very, very true. So it's really important to seek to find the good because it is always there. And sometimes it's just hard to remind yourself that it is there and that you have some good things to offer and that this life is really incredible when you look at it with a positive outlook. A lot of it also depends on your attitude. So I have another quote here, and this is Erica McManus, and she's an Army spouse of 15 years. And she said that she doesn't believe in home is where the heart is for military life because sometimes your heart is not at home or your heart is not into the place you are. But her mantra instead has always been home is what you make of it. Don't ever let a new culture, new food, new locations, new friends, new opportunities be missed because of a negative attitude. So make every place your home to your fullest capacity. I think that is perfectly said. You know, it is often all about the attitude. So depending on how your puzzle will look, it will change based on your outlook, your attitude, and how the rest of those pieces fit together in the branch that you're in, how long you stay in. But it's our job at MSAN to help you lay those first foundational pieces and give you a positive experience so that maybe in the future, going forward, you'll have something positive to share forward. All right, so now we're moving into the top 10 things a military spouse should do or know, and this is according to fellow military spouses. We're going to talk through kind of each of these as we go along, but I think this is really awesome information and really great advice from military spouses who are extremely accomplished. We have people in here who are military spouses of the year. We have people who are work-at-home moms and stay-at-home moms. We have people who are CEOs and founders of nonprofits. We have people who have their doctorates. We have people all across all walks of life who all have that one thing in common, and they are military spouses, and they care about military spouses, and they want to share just a little golden nugget with you of information about what to expect, something you should do, or something you should know. Number 10, of course, is enjoy it. So that's just life in general, right? We're always told to enjoy it. It's very easy to forget about how fun this is and just to laugh about things when you're bogged down maybe with checklists in the middle of a PCS. And so Susan Reynolds, her recommendation is to have fun and laugh a lot. In fact, she is hilarious. She's a podcast host for Spouse Spouts, and she's a master hugger. It's something that she told me to make sure that I emphasize that. And then she is also 2014 Joan Orr Air Force Spouse of the Year. I love that her outlook is just to have fun and laugh a lot. After that, we do have Rachel Toney, and I think this is really awesome and something that we've just started recently doing, my husband and I, and that's to make a bucket list for each duty station. So find 1 or 2 things before you even move so that you have something to look forward to amongst the chaos of PCSing. And so it can be very tricky to think about all of these good things when you're thinking about what's being packed, where it's being packed, how it's being packed, if something's getting broken, checking off lists, changing your address, all of the things that go along with a permanent change of station. It's really nice to have a couple things to look forward to. to either finish before you're leaving the current duty station or to look forward to at your next one. And so that was from Rachel Tony. And then from Evie, we have, if you get the chance, live abroad. It's scary and nerve-wracking, but worth it in the end. And I think that is absolute wonderful advice as well. Number 9 is very important, especially coming from me as the director for the new Military Spouse Support Program. We don't know what we don't know unless you ask, right? I don't know what you need to know unless you ask me a question. And there's no stupid question at all. There's no question that needs to be unasked. And so according to Ashley Marie, she says that this life is about learning to give and to give in. It's about knowing when to help and when to ask for help. There is much truth behind the saying, it takes a village to raise a child, and the same is for the military community. As a MILSPO, you will have an instant family near and far, forever and ever, that you'll be able to count on. So cherish these relationships and never forget that you're not alone. Then, of course, we have Anna, who says something very similar, and there's always going to be someone more seasoned and someone less seasoned than you as a military spouse. So be kind to others and to yourself, reach out and reach back. You're all in this together. So just remembering those things and not only asking fellow military spouses for help, but ask your spouse for help. You know, if he or she comes home and they forget that they're in work mode and they start saying 5 or 10 different acronyms that maybe you've never heard before, or maybe you've heard 5 different times and you're still not sure what it means, it is okay to ask, and ask for patience, because they need to know that you're working hard to listen, to hear them, and to understand what it is that they're saying, to learn about this life and learn this new language. So it's okay to ask those questions and do your best to learn. The next one is always get trip insurance. I think this is so funny because it always seems true. So this is more about Murphy, right? So Murphy is something you'll hear about a lot in the military community, and that's Murphy's Law. So what can go wrong will go wrong. And it seems to be the case, right? So as soon as someone, your spouse leaves for deployment, maybe your next room floods, and now what are you gonna do? Or maybe you lose your ID card, now what are you gonna do? And so it just seems to always happen that way, that once you plan your vacation and you don't have the trip insurance, that is the one time ever in your life that your spouse gets called back into work and you have to cancel the trip and lose all of that money. Now, fingers crossed, we don't want that to happen to anyone, but it is important to know to always get trip insurance. And along that same line, you know, just always be prepared for anything. So MJ Boyce is a staff writer for National Military Family Association, also a Marine spouse and a writer, and she was the Military Spouse of the Year for Parris Island in 2015. And she said that the military will always come first. The mission must always come first. This does not mean that you or your family will come last. That is a distinction you must consciously make every time this issue comes up. Always get trip insurance. I think those are very important words to remember because I even often forget them. I think everyone often forgets that the military will always come first and the mission must always come first, right? So that is something that was decided when your spouse decided to sign up for the military, is that service before self. And so moving on to the next one is from Rebecca. So along the same lines of what can go wrong, might and will go wrong, it's stuff. It breaks, it gets lost, learn to let it go, set a timer and be angry. You can be sad, but then when the timer goes off, move on and let it go. Because in the end, the memories are what matter. Love people with reckless abandon because that is more important than stuff. And that's easy to forget when maybe your great-grandmother's table leg broke off in a PCS move, or maybe something you've had for a very long time broke that meant a lot to you. It's okay to be upset, but what's more important is these memories that you're holding on to. And that's from Rebecca, and she was also a Military Spouse of the Year for West Point in 2016, also a mom of 3 and successful business owner. Number 7 is to make new friends. This is one of the most important ones in my opinion. In fact, they're all extremely important. I'll probably say that every time. But number 7, make new friends. It is so important to make new friends because you open yourself up to just amazing possibilities when you can network and get to know these people and what they do. Even just these military spouses that I've been telling you about, they are phenomenal. They do so many things that they inspire me, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm volunteering and I have a kiddo and I'm a military spouse, and when you feel bogged down with tasks and with things that you're doing, to hear about some of these people who are taking on the world, and then some, it's really nice to have that encouragement in that cheerleading section, to really cheer you on, to say, hey, you got this, you know what you're doing, everything's great. And so it's important to have those friends, to have that cheering section. And so Rhiannon says to make new friends. If you worry so much about the fact that you already have friends, you'll miss out on so many amazing people. There is no typical military spouse. And unless you give them a chance, you'll never know what amazing and lifelong friendships could come from it. And Kara says you'll meet many amazing new spouses along this military journey. Also, be okay with change. And we'll get to the change piece here in just a little bit. But I think both of these women have some amazing things to say about it is very important to make those friends and make those connections. Even if you don't speak to them for a couple years after you've moved to a new installation and maybe you haven't kept up, you can pick things right back up where you left off, and you have some awesome friends for the rest of your life, because you all had one thing in common, and that is being a part of the U.S. military. Number 6 is always give back. Do not be afraid to ask questions or to ask for help. Take care of yourself by taking time for yourself. Network and build a support network that works with you. Always give back to your community. You can help them as they help you. So Carla Moss shared this with us. And then Dinah has something very similar to say about volunteering and helping out and doing what you're passionate about. She says that military life is unpredictable and filled with adventure. It's always great to look for positives of any assignment, especially friends who will support you. Schedule time to care for yourself. Get involved in your community doing what you are passionate about. Getting involved will help you find your tribe of friends. This will all help when those unexpected deployments and unaccompanied remote assignments come around. I cannot tell you how many times I hear from a new spouse that they're not quite sure how to meet people. They're not quite sure how to make friends. And I think what Dinah has to say is just the perfect answer to that. If you go out and you do something that you are passionate about, chances are you'll be surrounded by people who are also passionate about that same thing. And then you can start to form relationships with them because you have that commonality. So 1, you're both going to be military spouses. And 2, you have that commonality of you're both interested in maybe volunteering on the installation, or you're both interested in doing a bake sale, or you're both interested in a book club. So any of these things that you are interested in, find out at your installation what these things are and what you might be passionate about, and give it a try. And it's okay if you don't like it. Try something else the next time. But always, always find time to give back to the community. In fact, I think the military community as a whole is probably one of the most philanthropic communities I've ever been around. I mean, I've met some of the most giving and amazing people who not only are they and their family putting their lives on the line and fighting for our country and sacrificing every single day, they are also giving back any chance they get, whether that's to a homeless shelter or to fellow spouses or to people in need or to someone with a new baby, anything like that. So I just highly recommend that you look for ways to give back. Some of these installations also have specific people who figure out what these volunteer opportunities are and send them out to the installation and to the airmen, to the military member. And so look for those people, find out about those things, and try and sign up for that if you can. I apologize also for my scratchy voice. I do have a cold, so sorry if I'm a little froggy for all of you. All right, so the next one is protect your privacy. I can't stress this enough. In fact, we are going to be following up in the future with some information about what this means, right? So protecting your privacy can be a variety of things. And so you always hear the word OPSEC, 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 OPSEC. And for a lot of people, that's an acronym that gets thrown around, but they're not quite sure what it means other than maybe not to tell anyone where their spouse is located during a deployment. But it is so much more than that. And Alexandra is a cybersecurity specialist, and she was also a Spouse of the Year in 2015 for Joint Base San Antonio. And she says to protect your privacy, both personal and that of the mission. Please be mindful of sharing details about yourself, military affiliation, or information about your children online and in conversations in public. What seems like a simple piece of information about potentially what branch of the military your spouse is in and where he or she works, that could be, depending on to whose ears are listening, could be used as something for someone to find out information that you don't want them to find out, right? Or it could jeopardize something. And so just always be mindful of any conversations you're having, even if you maybe are on the phone and you're in public, people who are listening around you, or talking with a friend, any of those things. So just remember to protect your privacy, and that everyone obviously is at risk nowadays with so many things online. However, the military community is at an elevated risk level. Number 4 is to be yourself. Another thing that I hear a lot from military spouses is they're not quite sure who they are, and somewhere along the way that they've lost their identity. And I won't lie to you, I've felt the same way many times, because things change. So the way that we often identify ourselves is usually with labels. The labels that stay the same for the most part are the ones that are family. So mother, brother, sister, daughter, friend, those things usually stay the same. But the other things, when you are a military spouse, those things will change. So your location, your job, maybe your mindset, those things will change drastically. And so it's important to try and remember how you define yourself, who that root person is, and remember the things that are going to stay the same no matter what happens during your time as a military spouse. And so Lauren Hope, she's a designer and an owner of Hope Design, it's a jewelry company, and she redesigns jewelry, and Army spouse, and she's 2017 United States Military Academy Spouse of the Year, and she had just some beautiful words to say about being yourself. Along the military journey, so many things will be about the soldier. Doing something for yourself is not only okay, but recommended. Make time for something that truly makes you happy, be it a hobby, a job, girls' night out, etc. It will be hard at times through the moves, training, and deployment, but a spouse shouldn't sacrifice their own individual identity. It is okay for your identity to feel like it changes through the course of a military, just through the course of being a military spouse, whether that's for 5 years or 20, it's okay to feel like that has changed. But just remember to do things that make you happy, no matter what that is. Number 3 is change will come. Now, if there's anything else that's constant in military life, that's change. Change is a constant, and it is a journey with different seasons. And just when you think you're done, you figure out how to move forward with new purpose. These words come from Corey Weathers, and she is not only a counselor and an author, but she was the 2015 Armed Forces Insurance and Military Spouse of the Year. And she has just so much insight to offer about this, right? And so it's all a journey. And like I said, things will change over time. The way you see yourself might change over time. The labels might change over time, but it's all the journey, and it's with just different seasons. And so it doesn't mean one is worse than the other or one is better than another, but it all kind of fits together in these bookends and is meant to fit together. And it's going to happen either way, and change will come. But sometimes you will want that change to come because maybe you're not quite happy with where you're at, and you're looking forward to the next duty station to kind of start over and start fresh. And then we do have some words from Dr. Ingrid Herrera Yee, and the founder and president of MSBHC. She's also the 2014 Armed Forces Insurance National Guard Spouse of the Year. And she says that change is a big part of this life. Embrace it. It's hard, but finding your tribe really helps. And with your spouse, communication, communication, communication. Remember that they're going through the changes and separations too. You're in this together. I think that's easy to forget sometimes because your spouse is at work all day and they're in this 24/7. And so when they come home and present some information to you, it's easy to forget that maybe they are dealing with this the same time, in the same way that you are, and sometimes in a different way. And so working through that communication and figuring out how you can work together, that's the best way to go about it. And so that change will come, but work together instead of separately to develop that. Number 2 is be open. Natasha Harth was our 2016 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year, and also kindness and helping others are her superpowers. And she just says, remember to be open. Open your mind to possibilities of going places, meeting people and doing things you'd never imagine. Open your door to people you meet. You never know how they're coping, and they might need an ear to listen or a hand to hold. Or maybe you're the one in need and don't even know it. Open your heart to strangers, your milspouse brothers and sisters, even if you know it's just a short time you'll be together. Open your arms to your spouse, hold them tightly, whether they're coming or going. There's not much else I need to add to that. I mean, that's just beautiful. Be open. Last but not least, in our top 10 is embrace. And this leads us back to the title of the webinar tonight, and that is Embrace the Beginning. So Brittany Bacher is our 2017 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year, founder and director of the Down Syndrome Advancement Coalition Project, Tank Filled Life, Air Force spouse, and small business owner of Mason Chicks. I can't tell you how all of these things that she does, I don't know how she does it all. And the words that she has to say to all of our military spouses, but especially those who are new, is to embrace. Embrace the military life, embrace the military community inside and outside the installation gates, and embrace the opportunities afforded to each of us by being a military spouse. So like I said, that leads us back to the beginning of the webinar about embracing all of this. Like I said, it's overwhelming. It can seem like a lot, but with Military Spouse Advocacy Network, with the peer-to-peer mentorship program, with the new Military Spouse Support Program, we want to help you lay those first foundational pieces and give you information to move forward, to feel empowered, to feel educated, and hopefully in the future, give back and become a part of our program to help other new spouses. And so Michelle Aikman says that this life is never dull. It expedites and amplifies the emotional course of life. And indeed it does. Some things that I would like to maybe invite you to and remind you to check out are going to be some future webinars and informational videos that we will offer. And so these are going to have just tons of information about what to do and how to go about this and answer questions you might have about these things. And so DEERS and dependent ID cards would be something that you definitely want to know more about if you're a brand new military spouse, because that you can't get on the installation. There's so many things that will not happen unless you have those things figured out. And so, of course, we're going to cover that topic. And then insurance and power of attorney and installation resources, et cetera, et cetera. So keep an eye out for those things. You are welcome to check us out on any of these forums. So you can visit milspouseadvocacynetwork.org. We do have a Facebook page, so that's up there as well. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And then if you do have any questions, or if there's anything in this webinar that you loved, let me know. If there's anything in the webinar that you had questions about, let me know. My email is warmstrong@milspouseadvocacynetwork.org. So that's written there, and you're welcome to just shoot me an email. If you have anything that you would like to let me know that you would like to see in the future that we cover for new military spouses, feel free to add that information. You're welcome to do it anonymously as well. And so we just want to hear from you and build this program for you as military spouses. All right, so I would like to go ahead and kind of open up the floor to any questions that you might have. So you're welcome to type those in or just let us know if you have any questions. So we'll give about a minute or two and just see if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask about the program or anything in general. All right, so like I said, if you do have any questions that you think of, or if you have anything that you would like to share with us, you're welcome to email those, or obviously follow us on social media and ask those questions there as well. We just want to help and cater this program to you. And so any questions you might have or information that you need, we are here as a resource for you. Like I said, anyone who wants to become a part of MSAN or become an advocate or a mentor, please just reach out and visit that webpage, find out more about what programs we offer, and see where you might fit best, because we would love to have you and have you help us and give back to those new military spouses. All right, with all that being said, I'd just like to thank you everyone for being here tonight and taking some time to share with us and to kind of learn more about the new Military Spouse Support Program and Military Spouse Advocacy Network. And thank you for being on this journey with me. As a fellow military spouse, I really thank you for what you do, for your sacrifice at home and also abroad, because we do have those military spouses who are also serving. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for doing what you do. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening.